in the programming department at TIFF, and it is with great pleasure that I'm here to moderate a bit of a Q&A with all of you and the incredibly talented people behind this film. Before we get to the film, I just want to say that this is a bit of a bigger house, so if you do have questions, make sure to raise your hands up nice and high and speak up, and we will do our best to get to as many of you as possible. And with that, I just want to invite back onto the stage an incredibly talented filmmaker. So ladies and gentlemen, Richard Shepard.
Thank you for staying. Without further ado, our incredible cast.
So perhaps before we open it up to the floor, Richard, I'm going to ask you, in terms of actually constructing this film, it does a great job of balancing kind of this black comedy thriller element, as well as some deeply personal kind of human and family-based connections. Could you talk about initially constructing this film and how you might be deciding that this would be your next project?
I didn't know what I wanted to write, and I was trying to figure out an idea, and I started writing the first scene. And I finished it, and I was like, oh, I've got to see what happens with this guy. And that's what I just normally do. I just, write a blowjob scene. It's a straight Tuesday, I'm bored. Oprah's not on. It's all right. And then I sort of wrote this piece about this odd individual. And then I got to meet these incredible people who made it into what you just saw.
Alright. So let's go to the audience. Let's go 1 and then 2. So the question was, in terms of the actual lead character of Doc himself, what inspired you to create him, or was that inspired by somebody specific?
It was me. It's me. I'd only spent 4 days in my whole life in London when I wrote the script. But I was incredibly helped by our cast and crew to get me to learn it. And then, as a filmmaker, at a certain point, you take this creation and you hand it to someone, and you pray that they're Jude Law. Oh, thank you.
I wanted to set it I wanted to set them somewhere where I felt comfortable. So I kind of encouraged him to set it in, or have Don come from South East London, which is where I'm from. So I was, in my mind, he's from Woolwich. He's not from Regent's Park Road, no. In my mind, he's from Woolwich. And he shot the pub for the half mast was in Woolwich, on the Woolwich Road and around there.
The second question there? The question was in terms of the characters of Jude and Richard over there, in terms of how you developed your relationships together.
Months together. We all slept together, and that's how.
And we will tonight also.
We have a whole backstory, which really you don't want to know. It goes on for years. We have a sequel too, actually.
We do. We're going to Vegas.
Dom Dicky do Vegas.
We'll just jump in the corner.
I had a couple questions. Quick, could I ask Jude one first? There it comes. That speech at the beginning of the cock one, was that improvised or was that all scripted?
No, the whole of everything I said was scripted.
Really?
Yeah, every single word.
It was very.
I think every word we all said was scripted. It was. Sometimes you get scripts that are so beautifully written and so full and so complex there's lots of scripts which aren't like that.
Right, yeah.
And you spend a lot of the time on the set saying, do I have to say this, and should I say that, and maybe we can do this without that. And with this one, we stuck exactly to what we had.
Just
I mean,
everything.
we tweaked it in rehearsal, you and I, right?
We did.
A little tiny bit, but never more than a word here or a word there.
But on our first meeting, Jude said, I think we should shoot that scene on the first day. And I'm going to just walk on the set naked. And we did. And the crew was like, wow, this is going to be a good job.
Sorry, you follow?
I just wanted to ask Amelia wanted to say, how are you tonight?
Are you asking her out?
I'm my girlfriend. I just wanted to say hi.
We'll move on. How did you come up with the name Dom Hemingway?
Well, I've always wanted to use Dom in a movie, and so I've always just felt like it was a good name. And then Hemingway seemed, there is something poetic about Dom, and I don't know, it just made sense. And once I typed it, I looked at it for a really long time until the words mean nothing, and you're looking at it. But I was like, I think this is a good name, and it is. So that's what it was.
To jump on that note, I want to say that in terms of, obviously, your title character, incredibly colorful character, you did have to go and create this entire world of unique characters, and I just want to talk about the casting process for everyone else, how you found everyone here.
Well, I really did write the role of Dickie for Mr. Brandt here, and I was just a huge fan of his, and With Neil and I is one of my favorite movies. It's funny, I sometimes write with actors in mind and sometimes not. I didn't have anyone in mind for Dom, but I did have Richard in mind. And as these things happened, literally I was like, well, I like Richard E. Grant, and Jeremy, our producer, was like, well, let's just get him the script. And I'm like, oh, is that how this is happening? And, he was like, and Richard E. Grant likes it, and he wants to Skype with you. And I was like, holy fuck. We had like the most awkward 15-minute Skype where we're like making small talk and talking, and the film's not financed, and we're just having this thing, but you said you'd do it, and I helped you do it. And then Demian, the part really was written for a British person, but as we started going, Jude had several suggestions in casting. Lester, the young kid who sort of runs that club, was originally written for Lester's father, and Jude in rehearsals, before rehearsals, in casting said, I think we should hire someone younger, I think it'd be more interesting. And in the same thing, he said, I think Mr. Fontaine should not be from England. And so these ideas were sort of just ways to broaden the movie and it just made it more interesting. And so Damien's name came up, and I was like, holy shit, okay, and there we go. And then Madalena auditioned and promised me that she could really sing. And was amazing, and so we cast her, and then Amelia also promised me she could sing, but was auditioned, and Jude ended up auditioning with a lot of the actors in the movie, which normally doesn't happen, and just sort of talking about the commitment he had towards this character. But I mean, I love all 5 of these actors. I'm very lucky.
Trying to scout in the balcony. I don't want to ignore anyone if you do have questions, or perhaps I can't see you. Or you're just the shy bunch. That's okay too. So we'll just jump right back down. Let's go jump right.
I like how the artwork in the background, like the Jill Greenberg ace and the lady playing the song, because that is humor element. Was that something you scripted in, or was that just the director?
Yeah, the question was in terms of like the artwork and somewhat of the humorous elements involved with that. Was that art director's choice or yours?
Well, our production designer Lawrence Dory and I worked really closely, but for that big scene with the monkey portraits by Jill Greenberg, I really wanted something dramatic on the wall, because a really dramatic scene and funny, and we were beating ourselves up about what to do, and one day Lawrence came into the office and he's like, Jill Greenberg! And so that's how that happened. And then I had, when we were prepping this movie, I had just directed this episode of Girls in which Lena plays ping pong topless. And it was stuck in my brain. And then I was like, you know, maybe the artwork in Lester's office should be just two people playing ping pong with each other. So now that's on a permanent loop in my house, which is really fun.
I'm gonna swing left here. So the question was for Jude, and in terms of developing Dom Hemingway's speech patterns.
They were, as I said before, they were scripted, and the long rants were, they're kind of, you know, when things are well written, it's sort of easy to learn, to be honest with you. I often got muddled up whether it was a fuck or a fucking, a fucked up fuck up, fuck. But other than that, I did alright. We did sometimes get a little, I think you came up one night, no, you're calling him a fucking fuck, not a fucked up fuck.
Advisor had a heart attack.
It was honestly, it was quite easy to learn just because it was very well written.
I think there was someone in the back, that gentleman, or your hand went back down. No? Alright, I'm gonna move to the front. Okay. Jeez, who had it first here? I'm sunglasses.
I don't, you know, I look at it now and it's like this big deal, like, oh, I don't feel like I look that out of shape. I mean, I just have this feeling like, if, you know, okay, he's gone to seed, he's let himself go, so I thought this is a great excuse. I didn't have some like aim, I just had this feeling that I wanted to feel like soaked, you know, I wanted to feel like I'd been eating porridge and whiskey all day, every day, for years. Oh, lots of ice cream, 10 cans of Coke a day, a lot of whiskey, a lot of smoking, burgers, late night eating got good. Like after 11 o'clock, just when you're ready for bed, have some lasagna. And, it was just a kind of, like I said, it was just a, you know, just letting myself go, really. Generally. In every facet of my life.